Welcome to Shom Achshav on the Daf. Shir today is sponsored Lui Nishmas Meir ben Reuven Melech. The Shir and Perek Chelik is sponsored Lui Nishmas Aaron Be'Yaakov Shom Leah Bas Yitzchok. We're holding in Sanhedrin Daf Tzadik Tes. The Gemara Mudala brings, we brought a few places in Shas. All the nevuos that we have is Yemos Hamashiach. Olam Habo is not something that any Novi saw. Says the Gemara, Pliga de Shmuel. Shmuel argues, Doma Shmuel ein bein Olam Hazeh, Yemos Hamashiach, ela shibud malchios bavad. Shmuel says that when the Nevi'im misnabe, that's not about Yemos Hamashiach, because there's no real difference between this world and Yemos Hamashiach. The only difference is shibud malchios. Who's going to be in control? Who's going to be the kingdom? But the Nevi'im, the Chura, according to Pashup Shah and the Gemara, according to Shmuel, they are misnabe on Olam Haba, because the Yemos Hamashiach is not going to be very different than this world, and all the nevuos that we have are not talking about Yemos Hamashiach. So it comes out it's a machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Shmuel, how different there will be Yemos Hamashiach than Olam Hazeh. The big question that Mefarshim point out is that there's a stira in the Rambam, and the Rambam in some places brought the Gemara that says Ein ben Olam Hazeh Yemos Hamashiach l'shivud malchus bavad. So he says in Perek Yud Beis Mehilchos Malachim, where he starts by saying Al Yala Al Leiv Yemos Hamashiach Yivatel Dovar Minoga Shaloilam. The world will not change. It will be any different. It will be no different. And he goes on to say in Halacha Beis Omu Chachamim Ein ben Olam Hazeh Yemos Hamashiach l'shivud malchus bavad. And so he brings in Perek Tes Meichus Tshuva, Halacha Beis. He ends that Perek by saying, "V'oilom ki minhaga oilech, el shamalchus tachzor l'Yisrael, Am Yisrael will have the kingdom. V'kvar omru chachomim rishonim en ben oilom hazeh l'Yemos Hamashiach el shibud malchus bavad." But on the other hand, the Rambam in Perek Ches Meichus Tshuva, Halacha Zayin, he writes like this. He says that Olam Habo, it says, Ayin lo yirah Elokim zolasecho. The pasuk of Ayin lo yirah Elokim zolasecho refers to Olam Habo. And continues the Rambam and says, Omru Chachamim, Kol HaNeviim, Kulam lo nibu ela Yemos Hamashiach, Aval Olam Haba Ayin lo yirah Elokim zolasecho. So the Rambam says there that the nevuos of Nevi'im is Yemos Hamashiach, meaning Yemos Hamashiach will be different than Olam Hazeh because that's the nevuos of the Nevi'im. And l'chura, these are the two opinions in our Gemara, two opposite opinions. How does the Rambam paskin both? And that's a question of the Kesef Mishnah in Perek Ches Meichus Tshuva, where he stays with the Tzorech Iyun. Now, one simple answer is the Lechem Mishnah. The Lechem Mishnah in Perek Tes Meichus Tshuva answers. The Rambam holds that there's no difference between Mashiach or Olam Hazeh. The only reason the Rambam brings this lashon in Perek Ches Meichus Tshuva to tell me that the Nevi'im are misnabel, Mashiach, not because he holds that's what happened, just to emphasize the fact that Olam Haba Ayin lo yirah Elokim zolasecho. And he brings a rayo from Rabbi Yochanan to Shmuel. The same way according to Rabbi Yochanan, nobody saw Olam Haba, also according to Shmuel, nobody saw Olam Haba. The problem with this answer is, like many in the first point out, is that the Chura, according to Shmuel, who did the Nevi'im or misnabel? If there's no difference between Olam Hazeh and Yemos Hamashiach, so all the nevuos of the Nevi'im, the Chura, is speaking about Olam Haba. So how can the Rambam bring a rayo from Rabbi Yochanan to Shmuel? So the Mahalach, the many of Gedoyle, Abruseinu, and the Mekubalim are going with, is that really there's no machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Shmuel, and that there's two aspects of Yemos Hamashiach. One, the Yemos Hamashiach is exactly like Olam Hazeh, and one where Yemos Hamashiach is a higher level. And we'll summarize here three of the answers. Answer number one is the shir that we mentioned in the previous daf, the Vilna Goyen, already in Biurei Agodas on Brachas daf Lamed Aleph. He says, Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim, kishnei Yemos Hamashiachim. There's two Yemos Hamashiach. So they point out that he's probably referring to what they brought down in the name of the Gra in the Imri Noyam on Brachas daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, and that's the Goyen in Safed Tzniuso, that the Goyen goes on to say that there's Mashiach ben Yosef and there's Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben Yosef, the world will not change, the world will stay the same. Mashiach ben David, that's when the world turns to be something else. And when Shmuel tells us the Ein ben Olam Hazeh Mashiach refers to Ein ben Olam Hazeh the Mashiach ben Yosef. And when Rabbi Yochanan tells us that Kol HaNeviim lo nisnabu el Yemos Hamashiach is Mashiach ben David. Ramon Shapir Zatzal in Shuri Chelik and also another Shurim, he says there's another answer based on the Maharal and Netzach Yisrael Perek Mevov. The Maharal there goes on to say, when it comes to explain what Erev Tafshilin is all about, is that you cannot start in Yemos Hamashiach to start getting ready for Olam Haba. Anybody who was already preparing for Olam Haba and Olam Hazeh, so when he gets to Yemos Hamashiach, he can continue on working and developing and getting ready for Olam Haba. But to start on Yemos Hamashiach, that's too late. And that's the side of Erev Tashilin. The Erev Tashilin is, if you start cooking during the weekday, you can continue on Yom Tov to prepare for Shabbos. If you do not start during the weekday, you can't start in Yom Tov to prepare for Shabbos. There he goes, it says this famous Yisait, the Yom Tov is Keneged Yemos Hamashiach. So Al Kol Panim, says Ramesh Shapira Zitzal, based on the Maral, comes out that in Yemos Hamashiach depends where you are. If it's a tzaddik, they're already prepared doing Olam Hazeh to Olam Haba. So Yemos Hamashiach is already a hachana. It's a preparation for Olam Haba. It's already a semi-Olam Haba. It's a very high-level place. But if someone who never prepared for Olam Hazeh, what will be for Yemos Hamashiach? Yemos Hamashiach will be for him the end game. That's it. There's no more else. Nothing else. For him, Yemos Hamashiach is not any connection to Olam Haba, and it's just a super Olam Hazeh. Ein bein, there's not a big difference in Olam Hazeh and Yemos Hamashiach, except Shibur Malchus Bilvat. And Ramosha pointed out that the Chur, it's almost a Meferish Chazal and Sefer HaZoya and the Rayim Mehemna on Parshas Nosoi Daf Kuf Chofei Amud Aleph. So there Chazal say there's a difference between the Talmidei Chachamim that are connected to Eitz HaChaim. For them, Yemos Hamashiach is a much higher level. And the Me'aratzos, they're not connected to Eitz HaChaim. For them, Yemos Hamashiach ain't bein Olam Hazeh Yemos Hamashiach ela shibud malchus b'vat. A third and final answer that we'll discuss today is the Leshem. The Leshem in Sefer Hadeyo Chelek Beis Drush Dalet. He has a longer richus regarding Tchias HaMeisim. And his main concept is that Tchias HaMeisim will be a process that will take throughout Yemos Hamashiach. The tzaddikim, they will come back to life in beginning of Yemos Hamashiach, as we spoke about it in a few shiurim ago, while the others, they will come back a little later. So during Yemos Hamashiach, there will be a process of Tchias HaMeisim. There will be multiple Tchias HaMeisim for different levels of people. The bigger the tzaddik is, the earlier is coming back to Tchias HaMeisim. If someone is not such a big tzaddik, his Tchias HaMeisim is going to be a little later during Yemos Hamashiach. So says the Lashem, here's the difference. Somebody already came back to life. When he comes to Yemos Hamashiach, it's after Tchias HaMeisim. For him, that's a different world. He's in a much higher spiritual world at that stage. When he was Menuke, was clean from all the Zohamo. But for somebody who did not come back yet at Tchias HaMeisim, for him, Yemos Hamashiach is like the same thing like it was before, just a little bit better. And concludes the Leshem and says that the world then will be Malachim and Bnei Adam. There'll be people that will be the level of Malachim. And for some, it's going to be a regular day, just with a little difference of no Shibud Malchus. So to summarize, we saw three Mahalchim, how to answer this theory in the Rambam. What do we hold about Yemos Hamashiach? Either there's two Yemos Hamashiach, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, that's the Pshat of the Vilna Gaon. Or for some people, Yemos Hamashiach is a higher level, and for some people is less. That's the Mahalach of the Maharal, depends how much of a tzaddik he is. Or the Mahalach of the Leshem, that depends if a person already came back to life after Tchias HaMeisim, or he did not come back to life yet. For them, there will be two different types of Yemos Hamashiach. Anyone who wants to join the Shom Machshava email list to WhatsApp group is emo@gmail.com.